Super Mario Sunshine is one of the most polarizing Nintendo games ever released. On one side, people say that this is the best 3D Mario game ever made, while the other believes that it's one of the worst. When judging a game, nostalgia is one of the most important factors to consider. We associate the better days of our past with the things we did during that time. In this case, Super Mario Sunshine holds some of my fondest memories. When I boot up the game, I instantly remember the food I used to eat, the people I was with, and pretty much everything else about my childhood. As great as these memories are though, they do make the game seem a lot more perfect than it actually is. It's no secret that this game has ups and downs, but what matters is the total experience. I don't mind going through some issues here and there if it means I'll be able to play an amazing game. With that being said, I decided to revisit Super Mario Sunshine to see if it still holds up to this day. I'm putting all my biases aside, both good and bad, and finding out if Super Mario Sunshine is actually good. The game starts off with a cutscene of Mario, Peach, and Toadsworth on a plane arriving to Isle Delfino for a vacation. When they land, it's clear something strange is going on because there's a massive goop monster on the airstrip. We manage to find the water pump called Flood, and that helps us clear the mess. Shortly after this though, we're arrested on the spot because of our resemblance to a criminal who has caused the entirety of Isle Delfino to become dark. After a clearly biased trial, we're told to clean up the island and collect these shine sprites in order to restore the sunlight. We arrive in Delfino Plaza and once again find a goop monster in the square. We take it down and meet the person who has been vandalizing the island called Shadow Mario. He runs across the plaza for a bit before painting a portal on the center statue and disappearing. We follow him in and begin our adventure. Before getting started though, I have to make something clear. This playthrough is not going to be a 100% run, and actually I have a good reason for this which I will elaborate on in the analysis portion of the video, so stay tuned. Anyway, the first level consists of yet another goop monster fight which gets us a shine sprite. And after this, Sunshine gets pretty formulaic like any other Mario game and we get through the levels of Bianco Hills. I really enjoyed the missions here and the secret stages were fun to play as well since I had to work on my precise platforming abilities. Since I gave these stages ratings in my Mario 64 video, I'll do the same for this game and give Bianco Hills a 7 out of 10. I guess now is a good time to mention how all the stages are typically formatted. In each level there are 8 episodes and there will always be a red coin shine, a secret stage shine, and a Shadow Mario shine. Additionally, there are blue coins, red coins in the secret missions, and a 100 coin shine available in each stage. Now keep in mind a lot of this reuse of content is just because there's only 7 levels in this game, a lot less than Super Mario 64, but I'll go more in detail about that later. Anyway, let's continue into the next stage after defeating yet another goop monster, and Rico Harbor is a simple yet fun stage. There's a lot of platforming here which is always appreciated, and for a few shines you get to ride these bloopers which is also fun. Well, except when you run into a wall by accident. There's unfortunately signs of reusing content already here though, because this level has 2 of the same boss fights being the Glooper Blooper. It's not a huge deal, it's just annoying because it's the exact same fight pretty much twice. At least in Bianco Hills, the 2 times you fought Petey Piranha were pretty different. This level isn't particularly amazing, but it also isn't bad. 6 out of 10. The next stage is once again kept behind a goop monster fight and it's Gelato Beach. Theoretically, this level would be one of the best since it's perfectly encapsulating that vacation vibe this game brings. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if its level design was all that great in the end. Some shines were cool for sure, like racing with Il Piantissimo or fighting Wiggler, but the rest are really not that great. Gelato Beach has like 2 of my least favorite shines in the game, being the Sandbird and Watermelon Festival. Granted, the latter isn't a required shine to beat the game, so I guess that doesn't have to count. But regardless, I didn't like this level all that much and it felt a little bare bones. 4 out of 10. Fortunately, the next level is a lot more interesting than this and it's Peanut Park. The first shine here introduces us to the true identity of Shadow Mario, Bowser Jr., and he's kidnapped Princess Peach. He seems to have the delusion that she is his mother. This episode uses the roller coaster as a mechanic to take down his Mecha Bowser, which I think is a really great idea, even if it is a little finicky. The rest of the episodes in this level are pretty creative for the most part. We also get to play with Yoshi for the first time here, which I personally love. Around this point, we started unlocking a lot of the other nozzles in the game too, being the Turbo and Rocket nozzles. Anyway, I like Peanut Park a pretty decent amount, so 7 out of 10. The next stage is Noki Bay, which we get to by looking into the sun, a nice nod to Mario 64. This level is actually a lot different from the others because it tells a overarching narrative through each episode. When you first arrive, the bay is polluted and you have to try and find the root cause. After several episodes of trying and the bay still being polluted, we discover that there's a massive eel under the water with dental problems, causing the water to be poisonous. It is kinda silly, but the very fact that there's a story being told through each episode puts this stage head and shoulders above the rest, not to mention the amount of lore they try to build here too. So to me, this is a 9 out of 10 level. Up next is actually a really cool stage, Serena Beach. First of all, the vibes here are off the chart, but besides that, it follows a similar narrative narrative structure as Noki Bay. As you complete missions, the level develops. There are some unique bosses here like the Manta and King Boo, which is a plus. I also like how diverse collecting all the shines are compared to a lot of the other levels which kind of reuse ideas. I'll give this an 8 out of 10. The last stage is unfortunately not a great one, in fact it's probably the worst. As great as the idea of Pianta Village is, it falls flat in almost every department except for aesthetics. Some shines aren't really a problem like the Chain Chomp ones, but as for the rest, it's terrible. The third episode, the Goopy Inferno, is one of the least fun shines in the game if you try to beat it the intended way. The secret episode in this level is also really annoying in not only the actual secret area, but also the lead up. Overall, I don't have almost anything nice to say about this place except for the visuals being nice. 3 out of 10. After completing episode 7 in each of the stages, Delfino Plaza will be flooded and Shadow Mario will run into Corona Mountain. When you follow him in, you will enter the final stage in the game. Considering how good the final stage in Mario 64 was, you would think that this would follow suit. However, that is simply not the case. The level begins with a pretty simple platforming segment, however, once you reach the part with the boat, it all goes downhill from here. Controlling this boat is so difficult to do precisely, and if you manage to bump into a wall, you have to restart from the very beginning. This stage isn't even particularly long, it's just annoying to get through, but once we use the rocket nozzle to reach Bowser, we finally fight him and save Peach. With the game complete, the average score of the levels comes out to about 6. Now this seems pretty low, but stay with me. I know I didn't get every shine in the game, and there are plenty of more secrets in Delfino Plaza, but that's because I've played this several times before. But since we've gotten through the main story, I can finally go into detail on the rest of the game's ups and downs. I don't think I need to talk too much about the obvious problems in the game. We all know how rushed it was and all the ridiculous glitches that happen. Instead of that, let's talk about FLUDD. I feel like people either love or hate FLUDD because of how crucial it is to the game's mechanics. Some players feel like it makes the game too easy, while others think it actually adds to the platforming. My personal opinion stands on the side of creativity. I absolutely respect Nintendo's decision for going ahead and changing how Mario moves. This might be a controversial take, but I think this is the best Mario has ever controlled besides Mario Odyssey. Sure, there are a ton of glitches involved with it, but once you're in the groove of things, it feels good to side flip or spin jump onto places you didn't think you could reach before. I distinctly remember trying to get on the top of the Shine Gate before getting the rocket nozzle by just using Mario's basic moveset. Speaking of which, the secret levels are another seriously controversial part of the game. Without FLUDD, everyone who hated that mechanic suddenly loved these sections, and everyone who loved FLUDD despises them. To be honest, the secret stages are quite annoying sometimes, especially if I didn't have many 1-ups and I had to restart the level from the very beginning. Fortunately, these stages will usually give you 1-ups, but sometimes you're not paying attention to your lives and accidentally get a game over. I understand that these are supposed to be a challenge, but it seemed a bit like artificial difficulty sometimes when I had to make it back to the secret level before I could try it again. The platforming in these were actually pretty fun sometimes, but you can really tell that Mario was programmed to move with FLUDD. Without it, Mario feels kind of awkward. There are red coin shines too within these secret levels, and yeah, they aren't that fun. It's hard enough to navigate these without FLUDD, but having to make more precise jumps to collect coins just made it not that great. Also, not sure if anyone else had to deal with this, but sometimes you would unlock the shine for a secret stage and then die trying to actually collect it. This had to be one of the most annoying experiences in the game. Perhaps the worst offender of bad design in the secret stages is in Pianta Village. Trying to angle yourself with the chucksters was literally one of the least optimized parts of the game, and it leaves very little room for error. Not to mention that you have to play it twice in order to get the red coins. The concept is so memorable, but the execution of it was just horrible. I'm not saying that the game would have been better off without the secret levels, but man, I wish they were done a little bit better. The only problems are with the secrets, however. The normal stages actually have a ton of issues that don't really make sense. Specifically, some episodes feel like nobody actually tested the game. The 8th shine in Peanut Park literally makes no sense, so originally shooting these rockets to hit Mecha Bowser in episode 1 wasn't that bad since he was a huge target. But here, you have to shoot all 20 of these balloons in 3 rounds on the roller coaster. Unfortunately, you have no crosshair, so unless the balloons are right in front of you, you're probably gonna miss a few times. The worst part is, if you fail the mission, you just die. Like, not even in a way that makes sense, Mario just collapses out of disbelief. Besides that, you can't seriously tell me that the Watermelon Festival was playtested and approved by Nintendo. I'm not even mad that it's difficult, but the entire process of getting the watermelon to the beach just didn't make any sense. There was no logical path for you to take, no NPC to guide you, just get this watermelon that pops when it touches anything to this tiny boardwalk. I can't forget to mention the numerous levels that are just flat out broken. I personally had no problem beating the Pachinko machine stage, but I know it barely works for most people. Look, I've played some hard games games before, and I know what real difficulty feels like, and this was not it. Going through this game for the first time fully, I thought to myself, I don't want to shoot these balloons or push this watermelon, and I certainly do not want to ride on this lily pad. And fortunately, I didn't have to, since you only have to complete episode 7 in each stage to unlock the final boss. Whether or not Nintendo used this as an excuse to neglect the design of the 8th episodes, I can't say for sure, but I'm certainly glad I'm not required to beat the Watermelon Festival. It just kinda disappoints me not having any sort of incentive to collect these bonus shines besides a different ending screen. You go into a large majority of these extra levels knowing that you will not have a good time. That is quite possibly the worst feeling you can get when playing a game. While you don't have to play these stages, the 7-episode requirement has some stinkers too. You will never escape from this, or this. Another major criticism toward this game has to do with the lack of creativity in areas. Consider that every world has a red coin, a 100 coin, and a Shadow Mario mission, not to mention the several races you'll do with Il Piantissimo and the dozens of blue coins scattered across the world. Out of the entire 120 shines, I enjoy collecting just a fraction of them. The majority of shines are simply bland and uninteresting, with many being poorly designed. Blue coins aren't helping the situation either, and while I don't have any inherent problem with these bonus collectibles, how are you supposed to know where to find some of these? Certain coins are only available in specific episodes, not to mention the 100 coin shines are locked off from some episodes as well. I understand that this game was released in a time where player guides were popular, but this is just too obscure. I mean, you can't even track which blue coins you've gotten already, meaning unless you want to waste your time, you'll have to write down the location and episode of every blue coin you've already collected. And one last thing, if I haven't made it clear enough how repetitive this game is already, we have to fight these same bosses over and over again in each world. There are a few unique bosses, but they usually aren't even that fun to fight. I mean, that Goop Monster fight happened like 6 times. Okay, I think I'm done with most of the negatives though. My views toward this game have consistently changed over time. On a first playthrough, the whole island atmosphere is awesome. The fact that all of the levels take place on one island makes everything feel so connected. I still think Delfino Plaza is one of the best hub worlds in all of gaming too. Sunshine's music is still iconic, and I personally would love to hear remastered versions of them. Also, am I the only one who actually liked the cutscenes? I thought it was cool seeing the characters talk and show some personality. Sunshine definitely has some awesome moments, and I would argue some of the coolest locations in all of Mario. However, it is really inconsistent gameplay wise, and unfortunately that hurts it in a lot of ways. So is Super Mario Sunshine actually good? Well, I guess it depends on your views towards its highs and lows. I really think if this game was completely remade, not remastered or emulated, I think it would be phenomenal. Ultimately, I don't think less of anyone who feels differently about this game than me. To many people, the flaws of Sunshine matter far less compared to how I feel about it. Even if going through a full playthrough is a little aggravating for me, I definitely don't mind hopping into the game and going through some of my favorite levels. If nothing else, this game helped bring me into the Mario franchise, and I'll always be grateful for that. Regardless of how I feel, this game will always have a special place in my heart, and I'm sure I will revisit it many times in the future.